Hello, welcome everyone. It's great to see you all here. This is the second CJS lecture for the Winter 2024 series. And today it's great to see everyone here. We have guests from Colorado and from all over the world online, as well as from Japan, Germany, and everywhere else. So this is a particularly great opportunity to bring our community together, and I hope that everyone's able to enjoy the conversation and ask questions at the end. So my name is Kevin Carr. I teach Japanese visual culture history here at the University of Michigan, and I wanted to just offer a few words of introduction. First, some notes about events. On tonight at 7:15, the next installment of the CGS Winter 2024 film series, there'll be an exclusive screening of the 1988 Japanese horror mystery film, Door, by Takahashi Banmei. This screening will take place at the Michigan Theater on Liberty Street, so please join us. Sadly, the noon lecture originally scheduled to take place 2 weeks from now on March 7th, that's Archaeology and the Question of Japanese Origins by Professor Simon Kainer, had to be canceled due to the speaker's health concerns. So Professor Kainer hopes to come as a speaker in next academic year's Thursday noon lecture series. So let's keep him in our thoughts. So the next CGS noon lecture will take place on March 21st, and the topic will be, Is the Nuclear Taboo Still Robust in Japan? Given by Professor Naoko Matsumura, Associate Professor of International Relations at the Graduate School of Law at Kobe University. So for those participating in the webinar, webcams and microphones are muted, but we encourage you to use the Q&A function during the lecture to submit any questions. And the presenters will address as many as address as many as possible. Live transcription, that's closed caption, is enabled. If you don't want that, simply go to the bottom right-hand corner and disable it. And please check out the CGS events page or various social media channels for more events in 2024. There's a lot happening. So today I'm delighted and honored to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for what's sure to be an enlightening session. Born in 1973 in the vibrant cultural landscape of Okinawa, Japan, Mr. Yuken Teruya emerged as a prominent figure in the global art scene, making an indelible mark through his innovative and thought-provoking creations. Yuken Teruya's artistic journey has taken him across continents and through many prestigious institutions. He earned his Bachelor of Fine Arts from Tama Art University in Tokyo and, in 1996, and further honed his craft by attaining a Master's of Fine Arts from the School of Visual Arts, New York, in 2001. His work has been exhibited at renowned venues such as the Guggenheim, the Sydney Biennale, MoMA PS1's Greater New York, and a recent exhibition entitled Okinawa Heavy Pop, Yuken Teruya, at the Okinawa Prefectural Museum and Art Museum, and many other venues. So notably, Mr. Teruya's art has found a home in many prestigious public collections, including the British Museum, the Museum of Modern Art, the Guggenheim, the Flag Foundation, the Charles Saatchi Collection in London, and the Ethnological Museum of Asian Art Museum of Berlin, the 21st Century Museum of Contemporary Art in Kanazawa, Japan, and the Mori Art Museum in Tokyo, among many others. So travel around the world and see all these places. So this year's Toyota Visiting Professor, Professor Eriko Tomizawa-Kei, has collaborated with Yuken-san, organizing a conference entitled Okinawan Art in its Regional Context, Historical Overview and Contemporary Practice at the University of East Anglia in October 2019. In this and other public talks and exhibition essays, Yuken-san has shared insights into the intricate relationship between his artistic creations and his various identities. And he's delving into these connections have played a pivotal role in shaping and influencing his artistic practice. So today, we have the privilege of learning about the creative mind and process of this visionary artist. Yuken-san will generously share his experiences, shedding light on the intersection of Okinawan heritage and the global art discourses. His ability to transform ordinary objects into profound works of art inspires us all, encouraging a deeper exploration of culture, creativity, and academia. So without further ado, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Yuken Teruya.
Thank you, Kevin. Hello? Can you hear my voice? Hi. Thank you, Kevin, for your warm introduction, and thank you, Eriko-san, for your invitation to your program, and thank you, University of Michigan, for having me over, and thank you guys for coming and interested in my works. Sorry for taking a long time. We have a technical issue, and I'm glad I can finally see the familiar opening part of my presentation. I prepare about 10 to 12 different type of works I've done before, and some of our works are related to the object, the everyday object, like Kevin says, just explained to me, and also I made works as a response to the historical events that was taking place in the past in Okinawa. Also, I was living in New York, so I also I made works as my response to events that I experienced in New York. Hi.
Screen. Can I connect this one over here?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the piece I was going to show is called Notice Forest. It was my first, I think one of the first works I showed in New York when I was an art student. I went to a master class at School of Visual Arts, and I was fascinated by the brown bags when I received like by purchasing a can of Coke, and I got brown bags. What sounds very like natural once I have more familiar with living in the U.S. But I, as an international student, just came from Japan. It was a very fresh material, because I think I was more familiar with the plastic bags and.
Keyboard. What is the email?
My address? Oh, my email address? Teruya Yuken.
Sorry, it's in Japanese, Korean?
Japanese?
Yes, the keyboard.
Wait.
I can't.
Oh, okay, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a Japanese keyboard.
Yes.
It's gmail.com. Does it look good?
I hope so.
Okay. So from the list of works I selected for this presentation, I started with paperback sculpture which you're going to see now. And but one thing when I describe my works, it can be said like paperbacks, toilet paper rolls, pizza boxes, kimono, and something that always kind of related to our everyday elements, and a newspaper also, and balloons, and I think that something I think maybe it's unique about my works. So I have passport for
sharing screen.
oh. Did it go through? Oh. And also, as I was introduced as an artist from Okinawa, my works also showing or making a sort of platform to share what's happening in Okinawa with the audience and I do and also sorry. Okay. So I was told to stay here, to be captured in the camera, and. By the way, the painting you can see to the right, to the left to you, is made by a kimono dye technique, but I apply the technique. It's called Bingata. It's the style of like bright colors and so bold forms. To me, those elements are categorized as Bingata style, and it has invented for kimono making method in Okinawa in history. Okay, thank you. But I applied a technique as a sort of paintings, a form of paintings. Okay, thank you so much. It looks great. Thank you. So I'm back to the first page. So I like to start with one of my earlier works, a series of works called, again, Notice Forest. It's making tree, a portrait of existing tree from the streets, based on the picture of the tree I take, and I apply image. I printed out image of a tree onto paper and place over a shopping bag which has been flattened, and I take X-Acto knife to cut the surface of the paper. It's all and when it's done, it's how it look like, and it all come from a top of bag. I cannot go. It seems to be frozen. Sorry. Or should I? Quick?
Click in the presentation again, please.
Oh. Oh. Oh, we did. I see. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that. So for example, I take a picture of tree, and the tree. I see. Maybe from here. My cursor is gone. Oh. Also. Okay. So it kind of shows this how I make. So I take a picture of tree, and the picture become a reference or guideline for me to cut the shape of tree. And it's I like the idea that well, it's actually I was influenced by philosophy of nature by Aristotle, and he was mentioned about potentiality and actuality from acorn to full-grown oak tree, and acorn has a potential to become a tree, and like oak tree, and what the paper bag I was looking at Delhi in New York was actually after tree. So I was thinking the potentiality of the tree that acorn used to have are still there. I kind of extended his philosophy of nature to contemporary living environment, and I kind of my version of extension of the philosophy of nature by Aristotle is, yes, potentiality is still going back to surface of paper. Now I have to show the proof. So that's how I built a tree back in the space of the shopping bag. And to me, I can say that it's a sculpture work, but I think if you see inside the paper bag, and light's coming through where the cutout hole was made, and you see the sort of soft light, shadow, and reflection in a space, to me it's exactly the same quality of space where you can experience under the big tree. So in a way, the quality of the environment you are giving by a tree somehow still existing there. So that's sort of what I like about this project. I'm continue working on that. The series I just introduced, Notice Forest, wasn't pop up from nowhere. I had other practices before I began to work on the paper bags. It was toilet paper roll. Well, to me, it's kind of same idea. Well, the common between shopping bag and toilet paper rolls is you still see this everyday object which hasn't changed at all. But you see at the same time you see the transformation in it. So there are two aspects, two existence in a one object. That's what I like about those two, and I developed this idea into installation works like this. And this is another work, but I also looking for another way to play with everyday materials and also relationship with nature and paper. But as you see in the newspaper, newspaper comes with informations, like today's headlines. So now the sprouts, which also I just cut only the surface, and what I did was just very simple gesture, like just cut the very simple shape and twist it, or I roll the edge and twist it. Basically, that's it. And well, actually, I put a wire inside the stem so that it will stay longer. But again, same as notice for shopping bag piece or toilet paper rolls, I like to keep the simple gesture, and I don't want then try not to change so much, but try to use what the material originally has. And for this series, I try to work with the content, the article, and try to make another dialogue, sort of adding more dialogue between sprouts and article itself. Sometimes I try to play with the composition of the sprouts. For this case, I was trying to make sort of construction, constellation kind of structure around the figure in the picture. In this case, Chelsea Manning. So sometimes the picture in newspaper shows a very painful image, and it took me some time to decide how to deal with a picture and article, and by adding more by adding sprouts, you would the sprouts would create different story or enhancing the story. Anyway, it gives another layer of the storytelling on each article. And if you receive, if you have like subscribe newspaper, you receive new news next day. Although you receive very important information, you can easily forget tomorrow. So I sometimes use this sculpture as a reminder that for this article to be seen for a longer time. And so that's sort of, I do it intentionally. So sculpture would have different function to, I think, something to deal with time and information. I kind of use that as a use elements of work of art that meant to be preserved longer than normal newspaper. And I also, obviously the New York Times sculpture was made. I was during my life in New York, and I also had experienced the September 11th attack in 2001. It was a year I graduated from School of Visual Art. So this is a picture I took in the Times Square. I was stunned by a city that was covered by American flags, And I, as a international student, I simply felt kind of isolated, but at the same time, I also felt strongly how a nation flag can keep solidarity and bring our peoples together. But it can be, it has a different, there comes with many emotions, and I also saw the flags become like a tool of political discourse. And I made a piece as my response to the space that it has covered by American flags. But I made a flag that has all international flags together. And the composition was made in global map. And yes, you can still see American flag, but also you can see Afghanistan, flag from Afghanistan, Iraq, and all the flags come together. So I thought that I was making flag that has show all the neighborhood countries, and how not only this to talk about a political issue, but how the color of the flags affected by the land or religions. It was very visually fascinating how orientation of color and shape shifted from east to Middle East and to the west. So that was it comes with unexpected discovery and sort of dynamism of the country, how a reaction to the nature of the earth. And here's another event I made a response, but that is not in the U.S. But it was took place in Okinawa. It was in 2004, and as you know, Okinawa has U.S. military bases there, and when what is happening in the picture is one of the cargo helicopter from Marine, I think it was Marine, crashed into the property of International University of Okinawa. It was a summer vacation, so luckily there was no one injured, including soldiers who are operating a helicopter. This is the actual site, the crash site. What's happened? So at the crash site, I organized a workshop and call people to come to the site and draw what they see in the crash site. And it was inspired by article by New York Times. It's actually one of the sample of the pizza boxes right here. If you like to have a look later, show you. So this is the actual box I made, and it's a redesign of a New York Times article. And it's called A Crashing Descent of Pizzatocracy. And the flip side is entire article of New York Times. I made an English version and a Japanese version. And the opening part was when the crash happened. The site was occupied by U.S. Marine soldiers, and any local politicians, even the police officer, were not allowed to go into the site. But only pizza delivery were allowed to go in there. And so this very, very funny but ridiculous news caught my attention. And I thought it was reflected by this treaty between Japan and the US. But this treaty is, for treaty I had questions whether this treaty has sort of equal, like treating people equally or not. And also whether I had a big question about good quality of whether there's a quality of democracy in Okinawa. So that was sort of my motivation to make this work. So I made these pizza box, and inside the box I encourage people to draw what they see in the crash site. So I collected about 105 boxes from the participants, and I made the installations and delivered all the boxes to show to the exhibition in Tokyo. This one was actually depicted by Mayer at the time. He was counting tree trunks, those tree trunks that were cut down at the site. Yes. So I didn't open all the boxes. I also wanted to sort of show the sort of the land was occupied by this mass-produced boxes, and also wanted to make sort of great impact as a sculptural installation piece. At that time, I was also started working with Okinawan traditional culture, and thank you. I was almost kind of rediscovered cultural heritage, Okinawan cultural heritage, in the craftsmanship. And for this kimono, it's the first kimono I made, but it's been almost 20 years. But in the last 20 years, I made 5 different kimonos. And this is the first kimono I made with help by kimono craftsmen in Okinawa. What I did is basically following the traditional patterns to look like traditional kimonos, but I changed some elements and with contemporary aspects that represents the issue of Okinawa, and question about security, question about democracy, and question of equal rights and basic human right. So that was sort of message that I was trying to deliver with beauty of Bingata. Well, to make Bingata kimono, and by following the traditional method, the fabric, you see even this one, the fabric, when the fabric is dyed, it's actually one long, scrolls. It's about 30 meters long. I was also fascinated by this process of making or dyeing patterns. And this long stretch of scroll, or we call tanmono, I wanted to sort of show the process at the same time, play with this scale of length of tanmono. So for this work, Parade from Far, Far Away, I depicted characters that looks like doing parade or processions with different time from the past, present, and hopefully it will represent future of Okinawa that I like to see. And those figures you see in the picture, mostly based on actual figures that related to Okinawan current issue, or figures who appeared in the history of Okinawa. And this is how it look like when it's tailored from the 13 meter long kimono scrolls. I also apply kimono making technique to portraits. Again, I pick popular figures who are familiar with people in Okinawa, or someone who are related to Okinawan history. At the time, I was questioning where our identity can be made, or where the understanding of identity coming from. And it's related to kimono making process naturally, because during World War II, which was like about 78 years ago, the island was completely burned out, and all the cultural heritage become ash, and all the culture, Bingata kimono, have to remade from scratch. I often feel that my identity or understanding of sort of understanding of identity of Okinawa has been remade after World War II. It's very hard for me, at least, or perhaps many Okinawan people, to grasp what is identity of Okinawa look like or feel like with existing images, because most of the images that you can rely on to are no longer existed. So when I was making those series, I was kind of trying to figure out how I can achieve the image of, or achieve the identity of Okinawa. And obviously, as an artist, I kind of I'm kind of sort of inspired by other works of art from art history. So I kind of took sort of inspired by Andy Warhol's portraits, which is also kind of supporting the sort of hip or popular character in New York in 60s and 70s. So I kind of play with that. And at the time, I also apply. Well, I was also making works to exhibit in the United States. So I take a character. I choose character from the content of history of the United States that my hoping to have resonate, have a sort of dialogue with the history of Okinawa. And I also picked the cartoon figures that also popular in Japan. And this character, it's Ultraman. I don't know if you know this cartoon character, but happened to be the author of the Ultraman happened to be from Okinawa, and the series of Ultraman has very, very interesting episodes that often reflected by a complex relationship with mainland Japan and Okinawa, and sometimes the episodes can said to be referred to the American occupation. So that's how I chose the Ultraman as a sort of extension of practice figuring out how we can find our own identity. This is a figure. This is a portrait of Japanese Emperor Hirohito. He from Showa era. He's also kind of representing the history of Okinawa. Well, it's also he's a figure of from the history of Japan. He's one of the figure that the sort of related to strongly related to World War II and not necessarily sort of. I think because the identity I'm talking about Okinawa seems to be reset from end of the World War II. His figures also need to be discussed, and by depicting his character by Bingata style, to me is important for me. Some people can criticize. Well, sometimes some people would criticize why I use Bingata to depict such a character. But I think sometimes it's necessary to face shadow part of the history with our own term. I have chosen Bingata style as sort of another sort of a communication tool or visual language to figure out where we belong to, and hoping to reach farther than 78 years ago. So that's sort of my attempt making his portraits, again in a sort of pop art style. Oh, by the way, the fabric I was using for his portraits were from Uniqlo T-shirts. There's another example of my works that responding to historical events. This is a picture was taken when a riot was taking place in Okinawa in 1970. It was during the 1970s, well, until 1972, well, from 1945 to 1972, Okinawa was under Okinawa was controlled under U.S. military, and when riot was occurred, people got it was sort of sign of anger of people against occupation by the U.S. Military. It was a historical event, and scholars are talking about, and so I made a installation. It's actually a video installation as my responding to these national historical events. It was, as you see, in 2018. It was 2 years before Tokyo Olympic was scheduled, and and this piece was showing at Shanghai Biennale. There was a international exhibit. I was wondering where all the sports emerged, or is there a chance for me to reinvent history or reinvent sports based on a historical event? So I organized an event that have to do with sort of flipping cars, and I kind of made this event look like as if you're participating in the underground underground event that's kind of combined with sumo wrestler and dance competition and something else. And each team, there are two teams divided by like a black uniform and a white uniform, but in the clothing you see sort of with the top you see the t-shirts look like sports clothing, but at the bottom, from the west to the bottom, it kind of combined the Okinawan cultural festival sort of matsuri uniform. So it's kind of combining sort of a sports event, but also more cultural, historical cultural aspect from Okinawa. And there's a purification process there too. So before they flip the car, they kind of purify these objects and do the flipping. But when they team flip the cars, they call like tentochi uchosun in Okinawan language, meaning like earth and the sky will be flipped. So the car, we usually think the car is right side up, but when the car flipped, it might feel unusual, sort of unusually gravity goes like flipped. So sort of in the band sport, the team member, they're sort of shouting that with your hands you can make things upside down, but within the event, once you flip the car, you actually flip back. So I kind of adding sort of aspect of dance or dancing or kind of sort of kind of sort of dancing elements to it. Now I'm going back to to the old works, but I like to talk about diversity of values that I trying to explore through my practices. This one, obviously you see that dollar bills with sprouts coming out. It was actually made for New York Times magazine, an article by Paul Krugman, and the article was about economy and the environmental issue. So that commission works, which you're looking at, inspired me. Sort of inspired me to search for different kind of value, and that was driven by symbolism or system that we already in, that we don't think so much. And from that experience, I moved on from real money to toy money. And as you see, if you're familiar with monopoly money, by the way, I really like this monopoly money from 70s, 80s. I really like the design from that particular time. But in this series of monopoly, I choose a motif that has something to do with sort of cultural heritage or some power that we already know, but it's really hard to grasp or very hard to measure, such as value of Metropolitan Museum or value of Central Park, value of Wall Street. I'm kind of, with this experiment, I try to reach sort of power of abstraction, and the power of abstraction that is hard to visualize, but monopoly money maybe help us to have this value more visible, because monopoly money itself represents monetary system. So I thought there's a potential that monopoly money become a new tool for us to find the value and make it more visual. Something that to be able to measure unmeasurable thing or measurable value. So that's sort of what I'm trying to explore through this series. When you cut 100 bills, you will lose the exchange value of great dinner. But when you dissect monopoly money, you're actually cutting the monetary system itself, or value system itself. That's the sort of pitch I'm trying to promote through this series. And I sort of experimentation of playing with the value or diversity of value can continue in different practice. This is a picture of the installation shot I just had until actually this year, last year, no, the beginning of this year. This is a shot at the Okinawa Prefectural Museum, and I had a solo show there last year to this year. And I'm going to quickly explain three works, which is Okinawa Pop to the left, and the center to the sky, and to the right there's objects in the cabinet missing for sale. So I'm gonna explain start from missing for sale. Oh, this is kind of sensitive works that maybe I should read this text I already made in before, if you don't mind. A project to exhibit and well, actually, let me just explain this. So basically, I displayed war artifacts from the historical war ruin sites in Okinawa, and I got help supported by the a person, Mitsuo Matsunaga, who had been collecting war artifacts from the ruin, mostly from natural cave, which we call it Gamma in Okinawa. And during World War II, many people escaped into Gamma cave, and including Japanese soldiers as well. And sadly, many civilians are killed, not only by the U.S. soldiers, but their own soldier. So their genocide happened. There are many sad memories still remained inside the dark caves. And Mr. Matsunaga has been collecting all these artifacts as a part of his peace education. And for my show, I like to collaborate. I wanted to collaborate with Mr. Matsunaga to not only to introduce his works. Well, mainly I wanted to introduce his practice, and also like to introduce peace studies. And also, I feel responsible to for future how I can continue to help continuing peace educations, and what I can do with a contemporary artist was sort of, obviously that was my big question and challenging. So what's happening here is I displayed war artifacts on the cabinet, and also I put the price tags for each object to sell, and I offer. I was literally selling those objects during the show, and the price tags you see, like 65,908 yen, or like 94,000. Those numbers are actually based on the war victims during World War II. I didn't want to inform those numbers, where those numbers come from, but I rather sort of provoke the sense of value by juxtaposing artifacts. It was my experimental practice, an effort, making effort to sort of to making value in your imagination, or curiosity, interest in what's in objects. This price, for me, doesn't belong to object. It's belong to you. your curiosity. Okay, I have only 3 minutes. I think I can make. And so that's, to me, it's kind of extension of a practice to search for different value, or rediscovering or reinventing a perspective with sense of value. Okay, so then in this same in the same space, I also have this piece called "To the Sky." You see the balloons with helium gas inside. Was kind of reducing the weight of the object attached to the bottom. And in the bottom, you see sort of object there. It's a metal. It's a piece of metal. It's actually a part of a bomb from World War II. And you can still find those metal fragments from the bombs in the farmland or construction sites in Okinawa. It doesn't look like a weapon at all. It looks like just you don't even recognize as a metal. It looks like a piece of stone. So this work, I wanted to have this balloon come together and lifting this element, a metal piece, from the ground, from hiding it, and try to make this metal piece to testify what's happened 78 years ago. So that's sort of story I wanted to create through this sculpture. This, to me, this is actual, real, what a weapon look like at the battle sites, and that's these are still killing people in Gaza, in Ukrainian. So to me, this is it's just continue repeating all this happening. So and then another work that is again on the same space, the curtain representing the balloon that lifting the weapons from the ground, kind of contrasting, making a contrast with war artifacts, and this lively color, sort of coming from the bottom to all the way to the ceiling, and to me, it's sort of representing hope. To me, the balloons is a hope for unstoppable sort of energy and individual freedom of individual as well. So that's sort of placing that in the same space to give a hope in the future, and respecting sort of us, our imagination and freedom as an individual. So I guess that's the last slide. Well, thanks so much. That's the end. Thank you.
Great. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello. Okay. So Thank you very much. Fascinating and very wide-ranging introduction to your work and insight into your process. We have a little bit of time. We have some questions online as well as, but maybe we first take a question from the audience here.
Hello? Okay. Thanks for the talk. It's really fascinating to see your work in such a diversity, media and body issues. I can see one very important thing in your work is to deal with the impact of the war on Okinawa cultural identity. I can see several of your work have been dealing with this issue, like Hirohito's Portrait to the Sky Missing for the Sale and Okinawa Pop. So my question is, can you speak a little bit of your personal experiences of growing up in post-war Okinawa, and is there any of the work speak directly to your experience of growing at that time, and how does that connect with your personal, again, experience or memory? Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your questions. And so your questions, my personal
which work? Yeah, which work directly speak to your personal experience? From your presentation introduction, it feels like quite often you're speaking from a speaking for Okinawa people in general.
Right, yeah.
So I would like to hear more about your personal experience and memory, and how the work connect to your personal memory.
I see. I think I have an answer for you. I was grown up in Okinawa, and I was from south part of Okinawa, and the south region was heavily destroyed during World War II, and the war ruins mostly from south as well. And when I was growing up as a teenager, I thought I was angry about life, or I mean, we all angry during this teenage time anyway. But maybe as I've grown up, I still feel anger, or rather agony, from the land. I thought that was me feeling being disappointed, or feeling somehow hopeless or agony from inside of me. So I was blaming myself a lot. And that's kind of eventually pushed myself to go to Tokyo, and but when I come back, I still feel the same feeling. So I started feeling maybe it's coming from the ground. Maybe there's a memory still there, or awareness of, or understanding what's happened in the soil, creating those feelings. And that's how I've kind of experienced as a personal relationship to the land. And to heal the feeling, I think it's important to face it, and hopefully by transforming this feeling or energy to creative works is something important to me, or at least that's what I can do. I think it also creates an acknowledgement to the site or to the memory, which is it's a care to the past. That will be connected. That will be also equally working towards future as well. So that's how I feel. I hope I answered your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to offer a question from online. This is Ram Mason from the University of East Anglia. Again, thank you for our international
you.
participation. So lovely to see you, Yuken. Thank you for your fascinating talk and beautiful images as ever. Broadly speaking, do you find that your works, which combine Okinawa Bingata style with political figures, are received or appreciated or praised very differently in Okinawa in contrast with how they are understood on mainland Japan or overseas? So the Bingata portraits, are they seen differently within Okinawa versus in Tokyo versus in...
You mean from the audience? Audiences? I think so. I think so. I received sort of criticism from viewer from Okinawa. Again, why I made portraits of Hirohito with the Bingata style technique, and it kind of can be seen as embracing the figure or sort of supporting these figures, but my answer for them is I don't want to be. I don't want to have this effect on heading to white or black or left or right. But I'm not gonna say talking about gray. I'm not gonna talk about that either. But I think again, it's more like an acknowledgement of the figure, even though it's very, taking a subject that's very hard to talk about. I think looking to face it is very important, and I'm using Bingata aesthetics as a tool, and I think that then this technique become a perspective from further philosophy or perception from history of Okinawa, way farther than 78 years ago. And to be able to keeping the figures within the definition of Bingata style, the figure's face will be determined by the style, not me. In order to keep the results aligned with sort of aesthetic of Bingata, the subject will be, it may be eventually distorted or changed by the aesthetics. And well, somebody would do it, doing it technically, practically, but even a person like my case, I draw the first line, and the drawing would be passed down to a craftsman, and he made stencils and stylized into a Bingata style. But even though that was done by this person must follow or controlled by aesthetical decision. So eventually, what would take over a subject, even dictators or superior person, it will be eventually controlled by the aesthetics, or like sense of aesthetics or aesthetics by Bingata style. So, and also, so it's really basically up to the viewer how to perceive it. But to me, I'm believing in this power of creativity, power of aesthetics, which doesn't belong to either side, or left or right, or white or black. That's my stance. That's what I'm working. That's what I'm working with.
Thank you very much. So unfortunately, we are basically out of time. And
Sorry, I speak slow. Sorry about that.
No, there's so much wonderful material here. So if you're here, I think you can, there's still a chance to grab Mr. Yuken and ask some questions. Online, we'll try to pass on his questions to you. But let's please join me in thanking him for this really fascinating talk.
Thank you.